Okay, so he talks about two experiments, two studies. So let me describe the study as he described it, and then let me describe the study as the discussion section in the study describes it. So he gives two experiments to establish causality, and this is like the thing that he's going to talk about throughout the rest of the book, is that it's not just correlative, it's causal. So, for example, one study randomly assigned college students to greatly reduce the use of social media platforms, or not reduce, for the control group, and then measured their depressive symptoms 3 weeks later. The authors reported that the limited use group showed significant reductions in loneliness and depression over 3 weeks compared to the control group. Another study randomly assigned teen girls to be exposed to selfies taken from Instagram, either in their original state or after modification by the experimenters to be extra attractive. Results showed that exposure to manipulated Instagram photos directly led to lower body image. Taken as a whole, the dozens of experiments that Gene Twenge, Zach Rausch, and I have collected... Thank you, Twenge, Zach Rausch, and I have collected, confirm and extend the patterns found in these correlational studies. Social media is a cause of anxiety, depression, and other ailments, not just a correlate, with cause and correlate being italicized because that's really important for him to establish. All right, so let's look at the actual studies now. So I'm going to link to both of these studies because there are some very important things that he did not include in his description of said studies. So the first study he talks about is called No More FOMO, Limiting Social Media Decreases Loneliness and Depression by Melissa G. Hunt, Rachel Marks, Courtney Lipston, and Jordan Young from the University of Pennsylvania. We'll link to all of this. So for listeners who are going through studies themselves, I think that for these kind of studies themselves, I think that you should just basically skip to the discussion section where they talk about the limitations of said study. Because what didn't happen is a full social media blackout. What happened was that they were asked to reduce their use of Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook only on their phone and only evidenced by looking at the app indicator, like time spent on each of these platforms. What they didn't do is didn't prevent the people from using like Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or any of the social medias that were not included in the strict list that they were studying. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is that all the participants could use all of the social medias on their computers if they wanted to. So it wasn't deactivated. They could just not use their phone and just use their computer. Problem number three is that the students were participating in the study because they got extra credit, and the credit was given out before the study concluded. And after the credit was given out, I think they said something like 75% of all participants just stopped participating in the study. So what they're left with are those people who know that they're doing a study about social media, know that they want to get credit for it, and are the ones who are probably already bought into the study in the first place because they didn't just bail as soon as the credit was given out. Further, the whole thing is about the effect of social media on loneliness and depression. That's why it's called No More FOMO. But they asked all the participants like 8 different questions, of which one of them was FOMO, and the other 6 or 7 were just not statistically significant. So they asked the questions about, in the survey, they had a social support question, a fear of missing out question, a loneliness question, an anxiety question, a depression question, a self-esteem question, and a autonomy and self-acceptance question. The only one that seemed to be statistically significant was the FOMO one, which is obvious because social media is where you're going to find out where the parties are. So if you're not on social media as much, of course, you're going to be missing stuff out. And then they write a whole paper after the fact about that. This is not science. It should be practiced. And this does not establish causation at all. This is just shit science and the sample size was like 120 people or something, 143 people. 143 undergrads, so not the 10 to 14-year-olds that Haidt is saying are affected. And later he talks about how you don't see the effect with undergrads as much. You only see it with like 10 to 14-year-olds. Then he does a study with 143 undergrads, and and it's not even blacking out social media. It's limiting Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat to 10 minutes per platform per day on your iPhone, and you're still allowed to use it on your computer because there's no way to validate that you are or not using it. And it's all for credit. and you're only studying this for about 3 weeks afterwards. And this is the example study he's put in his book to show causality. This is shit. This is terrible work. I'm sorry. This is why I am annoyed by Jonathan Haidt, because this is like, he's had that document for like, that document was starting to be written, the Google Doc thing, like when we did our first social media episode. So he's had that for probably 3 or 4 years before this book is published. And he went and he looked through all of that work, and from all that work, he chose the best study he could to put in his book. And it was this one. And the fact that the best of the best is so poor is why I don't think he's shown causality at all, even a little bit. It's like, this is laughable. So I was going to go into the other study, but you had read a blogger who had also critiqued this study, and don't think I've read that blog. So maybe just, I'd be curious if what I said kind of matched what this person said, or if, because two people reaching independent conclusions on the same paper would be interesting to compare and contrast, I guess.
He cites very similar reasons for you. He points out that they studied like 5 or 6 things, but then only found significant effects for one of those things, namely loneliness and depression, as opposed to the other 5 things they studied. And, we'll definitely put this in the show notes. Peter Gray is someone I think who's worth paying attention to here, because he's aligned with Haidt when it comes to the play-based childhood. So Haidt has this nonprofit organization called Let Grow, I believe, that he founded, I think, right after the coddling of the American mind. And the idea is to push parents to like give their kids a little bit more autonomy and independence and let them take a little more risk so that they like grow up to be adults that can handle the real world.
So I just want to quickly say a few comments about the second of the 2 studies that Haidt is relying upon to substantiate his entire thesis here. Just to be clear about this, why these studies are important. This study is called Picture Perfect, the direct effect of manipulated Instagram photos on body image in adolescent girls. So in this study, all they do is they show girls photos of attractive women that either have or have not been photoshopped. They show some effect size. My main criticism here is this has nothing to do with Instagram. Like it's People Magazine. It's the same thing. There's no social component. Yeah. The only
TV, like everything would have this.
TV. Yeah. And you just have to like scroll through the paper and just look at the photos. It's just the only relation to Instagram that this has is that the Instagram logo is on the top of the photo. Like it's just showing photoshopped and not photoshopped and then measuring some effect. Funny. But there's no social component. There's no chatting. There's nothing. It's just photos that have the Instagram logo at the top. That's it. And so it doesn't even really matter what the results are, because they aren't showing anything with regards to Instagram. They're just like, if you watch TV, if you go look at a People magazine, if you go watch reality TV, if you are a person in the world at all, you're going to be exposed to this stuff. And the sample size is terrible, and et cetera, et cetera. So, okay, let's just zoom out a little bit. Why did I come out of the gate so strongly? It's because, like, when I first read the book, data was interesting, but I was like, okay, just give me the causal stuff. Give me the causal stuff, because nothing really matters if you don't establish the causal stuff. And the whole giant Google Doc, again, it can appear like he's being careful, and he kind of is. But if out of this giant Google Doc, the strongest stuff he could show is what he put in his book, the rest of the doc is just noise. It's just noise for distraction. It's because you're looking for signal amongst papers that have 100 participants that aren't blinded and that are longitudinally followed for like a week or 2 weeks after the effect. And you're not even removing social media. You're making some social medias slightly harder to use because it's like tracked on your phone, but you're not tracking WhatsApp and like SMS and how much social media is just through Facebook Messenger. Like none of that is being tracked here at all. But yet sweeping claims about the effects of all social medias are being promulgated based on these findings. This is not serious scholarship. Excellent.
Sorry for that. No, that's great. I mean, this is time for me to admit when it came to the story about like how social media is doing this, I basically jumped to his Substack, where I know most of the controversy is, because I know that's where he like went into most detail about effect sizes, what study he's using. You know, he's basically trying to do a meta-analysis of the literature. So I just shifted at that point my attention from the book to his Substack and then went down a rabbit hole there. And now I'm just so curious what was going through his mind when he wrote the book. So to only cite 2 studies when afterwards, and like we'll get into criticism of his more detailed claims about causation as well, but to like, so you write this book, you only talk about 2 studies, but then you write a whole Substack about like, you know, making very detailed causal claims. I'm a little confused about what happened there.